To rule alone is not a curse. It is not isolation. It is not abandonment. It is liberation, the highest form of control. The one who rules alone is the one who answers to no one, who needs no permission, who waits for nothing. Machiavelli understood this. He knew that power diluted is power destroyed. To rule alone is to carry the full weight of your vision and the full force of your will. Without compromise, without noise. You see, the crowd is comfort. The group is shelter. But shelter softens the soul. When you are surrounded, you are influenced, distracted, weakened. But when you rule alone, you become pure, focused, lethal. You think sharper, you act faster, you build without interference. The world worships collaboration because it fears domination. It praises teamwork because it resents leadership. But the man who rules alone does not seek approval, he seeks outcomes. He does not share the throne. He builds one made only for himself, not from arrogance, but from necessity, because power that must be shared is power that must be negotiated. And negotiation is the slow death of clarity. Machiavelli would tell you, it is better to be feared than loved. Why? Because fear is clean. Fear is efficient. Love is messy. It demands reciprocation. It creates expectations. But fear? Fear liberates the ruler from the ruled. It creates distance, and in that distance lies freedom. You must understand, people will always try to own a piece of your mind. They will offer help, opinions, alliances, but every favor has a string. Every handshake is a contract, and every contract is a chain. When you rule alone, you sever the strings. You break the chains. You own your decisions fully, win or lose. And that ownership is rare, sacred, powerful. To rule alone is to abandon the comfort of consensus. It is to step away from the table of compromise and build your own war room. It is to make moves that make sense only to you, because only you have seen the full map. Only you have counted every risk, measured every enemy, and sharpened every blade. The masses will not understand you. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand, because their confusion is your camouflage. While they speculate, you strike. While they gossip, you grow. While they sleep, you scheme. A man who rules alone has no committee, no board, no vote. He has instinct, insight, intensity. He builds in silence, and when he reveals his work, the world stares in awe, not knowing how it happened, only that it did. Ruling alone demands a spine of steel. You must walk through storms without support. You must speak truth without applause. You must make decisions that hurt in the short term, but build empires in the long term. And you must learn to love the silence, because in the silence, you will find your real strength. The kind that doesn't break, the kind that bends reality. Do not misunderstand this as isolation for weakness. It is isolation for power, for clarity, for undisturbed momentum. The general who plans alone wins battles others cannot see. The king who trusts his own mind builds a legacy others cannot imagine. Machiavelli knew that power demands solitude, that real control begins when distractions end. He would advise you to keep your thoughts hidden, your moves quiet, and your counsel close. Very close. Perhaps just to yourself, because the more you share, the more you dilute. The more you explain, the more you weaken. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let your results speak. To rule alone is to elevate yourself beyond debate, beyond vote, beyond trend. You become the architect and the executioner. You create your own weather, and you walk through it unshaken. This does not mean you ignore reality. It means you shape it, not with consensus, but with command, not with compromise, but with clarity. The man who rules alone is not arrogant. He is aware of how rare his vision is, aware of how fragile power becomes when shared, aware that the most dangerous enemy is often the one closest to your circle. So, you reduce the circle. Shrink the noise, guard the gate. You will feel resistance, doubt, isolation. Good. These are the tests. These are the signs. Because the world does not test the weak. It ignores them. It tests the rising. And if you are being tested, it means you are moving. Let them fear your silence. Let them question your distance. Let them wonder why you no longer ask for opinions. It is because you have entered a new domain, a new level, one where clarity reigns and compromise dies. You do not need to be liked. You need to be unshakable. You do not need agreement. You need alignment with yourself, your vision, and your mission. You rule alone, not because you are better, but because you are responsible. Because the burden of greatness cannot be shared. And because in the end, it is not the crowd that builds the kingdom. It is the one who leads them, silently, ruthlessly, alone. A crown was never meant for a committee. It was made for the one who dared to take it with his bare hands. When the throne is yours alone, your mind becomes your court, your vision your counsel, and your will your army. The world outside will continue to spin in confusion, filled with noise and competition. But you are no longer part of that noise. You have transcended it. You are no longer influenced. You no longer follow waves. You create tides. You are not ruled. You rule. To rule alone means you become the source of power, of law, of movement. You cannot depend on sympathy. Sympathy softens resolve. You cannot depend on loyalty. Loyalty is only as strong as convenience. You depend on one thing, yourself. And this is your unbreakable fortress. Do not ask for support. Command it. Do not hope for agreement. Impose understanding. Let others fear the cost of crossing you more than they fear the cost of obeying you. This is how you establish control that lasts. Every empire begins with silence, but silence is not inactivity. It is incubation. While others are loud with no direction, you are quiet with strategy. While they waste energy signaling strength, you cultivate actual strength. True rulers do not perform for attention. They command from the shadows, and their influence is felt before it is seen. Machiavelli would remind you that reputation is a weapon. But reputation alone is not enough. It must be sharpened with unpredictability. If they can predict your moves, they can block them. So be erratic when expected to be steady, and calm when expected to erupt. You become a moving puzzle, unsolvable, unfathomable. To rule alone is to trust in your isolation. You no longer seek mirrors in others. You see yourself clearly without distortion. The man who rules alone does not measure his value by praise. He measures it by results, by the empire he built in silence, by the legacy carved into stone, not etched in fleeting applause. You must become a master of strategy, of time, and of self. Strategy gives you the map. Time gives you the window. But self gives you the courage to walk the path when no one else sees it. Control is not about chaos. It is about orchestration. You control not through force alone, but through perception, through positioning. A glance, a delay, a word unsaid, these can shift entire outcomes. The man who rules alone learns to manipulate moments like a sculptor chisels stone. Even your absence must be a tool. When you disappear, let it raise questions. When you speak, let it carry weight. When you act, let the effect ripple long after the moment has passed. You are not just a ruler. You are a myth in the making. And you must choose ruthlessly. You cannot say yes to everything. Every yes is a no to your kingdom. Every yes is a dilution of power. Say no often. Say no clearly. Because when you say yes, it must mean something. It must carry fire. You will lose allies. Let them go. You will outgrow and replace them. You will be questioned. Let them doubt. These are not signs of failure. These are signs of sovereignty. When you begin to rule alone, the old support systems will fall away. Let them. They are not the foundation. They are the scaffolding. And scaffolding is temporary. Beware of nostalgia. Nostalgia is a prison built with warm memories. But those who rule cannot afford sentiment. You must look forward. All eyes on the path, hand on the sword. Do not weep for what was lost. Command what must be built. Machiavelli knew that divided power is fragile power. It splinters, it delays, it hesitates. But power concentrated, focused, directed through one unbreakable will, that power bends the will. You must become that will. Wake with it, eat with it, sleep with it. Let it speak through your decisions. Let it live in your gaze. Let it burn in your voice. The throne you sit on is not just a seat. It is a symbol, a statement that you do not beg for power. You embody it. And what you build must outlive you. That is the final test. Ruling alone is not for self-glorification. It is for permanence. Build with stone, not sand. Think in decades, not days. Lead with legacy, not likes. You will be hated. Good. That means you will be feared. Good. That means you were respected. You may be loved, but only when the world is ready to understand what it took for you to stand alone. You are not a ruler because they crowned you. You are a ruler because you crowned yourself. Let them write stories. You write empires. Let them hold councils. You hold the reins. Let them chase popularity. You chase permanence. You rule alone because you were not born to be part of the crowd. You were born to shape it,